Hey, everybody. I'm so excited to doing another live event. I was just looking at all the comments on the side of my screen of all of you who've gathered live to join us. I even see Christy Majors there. Hi, Christy. She was my co-host last time, but I'm trying to rotate through my wonderful group of assistants. And we're welcoming for the first time one of my newest assistants, Meredith Ortiz Harris. Hey, Meredith.
Hello, everybody.
She's just beautiful, and she's wearing the coin that you can only get in person at my events, the two-sided coin that describes who we are, right? You got the soul side up there, I believe. Well, we are going to be answering questions that we're reading coming in from all of you who are joining us live. If you're not watching live, don't worry. The answers are coming from spirit. They're going to be what you need to hear anyway. I'm going to tune into my guide, Sanaya, as we go. And you might watch me get snagged a time or two by them. But I have to tell you that I'm just feeling so connected now. I did a reading yesterday and a reading today after taking about 10 days off from doing readings. I led a Caribbean cruise, very high energy and interactive, but also very draining. Then came back and we premiered Wolf's Message here in South Carolina to a sold out big screen theater. And that drained me. And I thought, wow, am I going to be able to connect? But Meredith, I haven't even shared this with you. Yesterday's reading, wow, it was for a man that's carried trauma for so long. And at the end of it, he said, this was the highlight of my life.
Wow.
Wow. And today is very healing for someone whose partner passed. And this is what mediumship helps to do, to heal people and show them that this life is not all there is. But I just wanted to start by sharing with all of you that mediumship is a path to knowing who we are. It's a path to the awakened way of living. It's one of many paths to what we call self-realization, coming to know we're not only human. So that's what we're going to keep coming back to as we answer your questions today. Meredith, I want to give you a chance to speak, but I saw a question pop up when we were just getting started, and I want to start right off with that because it's something that a lot of people worry about. And it was a woman, Elizabeth, you asked, did my son's spirit leave my body before the train hit him? I like when the answers help everybody, and I can tell all of you, if you have a loved one who passed in a sudden traumatic accident or a drowning or something like that, where we know that likely the body would feel pain. I want to assure all of you that my experience with the spirit world shows me the soul vaults out of the body and separates consciousness from the physical body's consciousness. I know this because time and time again, invariably, when I connect with a spirit across the veil who was in a traumatic accident, and I don't yet know from them how they passed, I know it was that situation because they show me this motion. That's a symbol that spirits use with me that means my soul was out of the body and I watched it all. I didn't suffer. And I just heard I didn't suffer, Mom. So Elizabeth, trust this. This was backed up also by a friend, Nancy Rhines, who had a near-death experience. She was dragged under a car when hit on her bicycle, and her consciousness split in two. She was fully aware, this is a little hard to imagine, but fully aware of being under the car and being dragged, but feeling no pain and watching the whole situation from her soul's perspective. She did cross the veil and came back, obviously. Then she felt the pain after she was in the hospital. But the guides are just now saying this is a protective mechanism. It's built into the whole human experience so that even if it appears that the body is suffering, the soul has detached. And so just trust that, Elizabeth, your son and any of you who have worried about those final moments, I used to be deathly afraid, no pun intended, of going down in a plane crash. And I've had spirits tell me how they didn't feel a thing. It just observed it. So heavy subject to start out with, but this is not just pablum. This is the way the spirits have shown me over and over again, and then back it up with evidence during the rest of the reading that we can trust this. So grateful to the soul for that. Meredith, you come to this work from a corporate type background, huh?
Yes, just recently took a leave of absence from a long time job, almost 15 years at IBM, working in consulting space, but also IT and more recently artificial intelligence. Actually, 10 years ago was my first AI project with IBM. So this is definitely a shift.
And I got to tell you all, she is doing such amazing work to help us use artificial intelligence in an intelligent, safe, and smart way to bring all of Sanaya's messages and all of my work and everything I've written into a way that we can ask Suzanne and Sanaya on my website. We'll be talking about the latest edition, maybe halfway through the show, but whoa, did Spirit know what they were doing when they brought Meredith to the team. So Meredith, why don't you follow your heart as you did when asking to come to this work and choose some questions for us.
Okay, well, I'm looking through some of the questions that were posted at the start here, and a couple of them stood out. JJ asked, do our spirit guides guide us in the afterlife, or do they leave us at some point?
I'm laughing because mine immediately said, finally, we get a break. they're like full-time duty watching over us, except when we sleep, and they're showing me that they actually talk with us when at the soul level while our bodies are sleeping, and they kind of go over how are things going. Maybe you want to change this during the day. But let me just ask them, besides their quick little quip there, do you continue? Oh, they say there's a lip twitch. I don't know if y'all saw that. My lip twitches like Spirit says, we've got this, trust this. They say that we're joined forever through entanglement. Our souls are forever connected. But they're showing me this, that we do go our separate ways, because once we cross the veil, we're much more aware of the love that we are souls. We don't need so much guidance. We're suddenly aware of what we know intuitively here. So they're showing me kind of like hanging their head like, oh my, I'm no longer needed. But they're laughing at that because we're always connected. But we don't need our hands held so much once we cross the veil. Neat.
Oh, that is neat.
Nobody's ever asked that one.
And on a similar theme, Sharon asked, on the other side, are there only absolutes, or do souls still have choices?
I'm just grabbed by two loved ones over here who I feel. Oh, wow. Cool. Brenda said, my dear friend who passed, says that we always have choice. That's how we grow, even across the veil. And Mavis Patilla, I feel her so wise right here. And she says the only absolute is source, the one thing that never changes. And it's that relative to the absolute differences that allow us to continue growing. I'm hearing that things are not quite so black and white as they appear to be here. We'll know how to flow much better when we get across the veil, because we'll be following our hearts. And so if we can learn to do that here, the Sanaya says, follow your heart absolutely, and you will know what choice to make always. The body is just the best barometer. Yeah.
Excellent answer. I see a question here from Jay Care. Are the opportunities to connect with spirit heightened during the Easter season? And this stood out because I saw a similar question on our list of master questions that have been asked about whether the veil thins during any particular religious holidays.
Oh. And the guides say, yes, this is so, for you are all feeling more connected through your heart to those across the veil and the masters across the veil. You are aware that connection is what it is all about. And for that reason, you have parted the veil. It is not so much that there is an atmospheric change in the energy field, but that you all are creating higher consciousness by focusing on issues of higher consciousness, such as love and connection. Ah, neat. I hope you all can tell these are channeled answers. And what does that mean? That means I know I don't have all the answers. I could think about it, but instead I do what I want all of you to learn to do. You just shift and know that there are higher beings here, your guides, who can just inspire you and put higher answers in your mind. I've just practiced it for years and years.
Oh, well, more on this theme. I think we're sticking on this theme, and here come more questions. Carolyn's asking, what is the end game when there are no more reincarnations?
Uh-huh. And Sanaya says, pure peace. That's the absolute state of just being. But this does get a bit boring after a while, Sanaya says. You find peace, and then you say, why, now it's time to go and play. And they're rhyming now. That's cool. So, what did we tell you this morning? They dictated an essay for a book that I'm writing for Hay House now, and it was all about eternal life and exploring that concept. And what they said this morning is that there is no end when you are eternal beingness itself. So there is an end game in the human world, but at the soul level, there is no end game. I know it's just an expression, but the goal is to bring the peace that passes all understanding here now. And then you found eternity. That's really cool. Whew. Love this. Can you all feel that? Anybody getting goosebumps just from the higher energy? And y'all are adding to that. So thank you.
Suzanne, last week somebody wrote in that they were having some problems with the meditations on the Awakened Way app. So I've been testing, and I just this morning listened to your meditation, Restful Peace, which is what you were just talking about. So I had to bring it up because I thought there was a reason it all tied in together. It was such a great meditation.
And then you gave me the goosebumps there because I even forgot that was there. I even forgot we have meditations on the Awakened Way app. How are they working?
They were working fine for me. So we'll be trying to help troubleshoot what's going on. But that I think was just such a great segue to connect the question with these gifts are out there.
Yep. Let me just remind everybody, go to your smartphone, Android or Apple, and type in for your apps, Awakened Way. It's 100% free. There are no strings attached. It has these free meditations. I just added several news items. Be sure to open up the menu. Besides the beautiful daily messages that come in fresh, live, new from Spirit every day, I post them. But in the menu, you have news items, so you can see what's going on with the community and the meditations, my favorite videos, all free. We love to offer that. So we are this close to 60,000 downloads. So make sure you're one of those.
Okay, so here's a great question that wasn't from today. It was from the last monthly connection, and I had written it down. It popped back up again today. It was from Beatrice. Why do souls retain the human personality, and for how long?
You take on a human personality for the growth that ensues from learning by trial and error, creating and evolving as you make mistakes, learn and grow from them. But you do this always in relationship with others. There is always an effect that affects the whole. And when you cross the veil, if you all don't mind that I'm not looking at you, it allows me to hold the connection here as my guides answer this. When you cross the veil, you are still entangled with those humans who are still enacting their story in physical form. And so you are still influencing them, guiding them, putting thoughts in their mind. You are still feeling their love for you, their thoughts of you. And this, again, propels onward the growth of the wholeness. You will hold on to the story until enough time and enough generations have passed so that the story you are living when you cross the veil is no longer germane, no longer relevant. But do not worry. The soul takes on many lives. That story will continue. until all those who knew you, loved you, touched you in physical form have gathered with you in spirit. That's cool.
Very cool.
Okay.
Sing along.
It is beautiful. I want to comment on what you said. You said that came from a question from the monthly connection. For those of you who don't know about it, that's the monthly gathering for 2 hours that we do in a live webinar. If you can't join us live from time zone challenges, you always get a link when you register for it. But I share the latest teaching from Spirit, the latest cool evidence in my recent readings, and things that help us live a more peaceful, connected life. Meredith, I got to share with you that we're holding this month's monthly connection. If you're watching us live on, what's today? April 13th. If you're watching us live on April 13th, Sunday, we're meeting tomorrow, April 14th, a Monday. It's almost always a Tuesday, but Ty and I are getting on the road Tuesday, so we have to hold it a day early. I got to tell you, Meredith, it's so indicative of human nature. The last 2 months, I had either something very scary, frightening, or something a little tragic happen. And we put that in the subject line, and the registrations were over the top. This time, nothing scary, nothing dramatic, and there's like a lackluster response. And I have to laugh at that because I know some podcasters who've learned that you have to make the titles of things scary if you want people to watch. And I'm not going there unless it actually happened. So everybody, these gatherings are so full of love, have such a sense of community, and share how you can learn to connect and be part of a community. So I hope you will check out my homepage right under there on the featured events, register for tomorrow night's monthly connection, and feel the love. And isn't it all about remembering who we are? So I'm grateful to Spirit that I had no drama, no trauma in the past months, and just a lot of great tools that we're going to be sharing about connecting with Spirit world and how to live our human lives with greater ease. So sign up for tomorrow, even if you can't join us live. I guarantee you will learn things that benefit your soul. Okay.
Absolutely. Well, I have to ask this question because the person who asked, her name is Sanaya, if I'm saying that correctly.
Oh.
And she's asking, can you share if souls are affected by astrology?
If souls are, let me ask the guides how she means this question. Our souls, I'm hearing that she's talking about actually by the movement of the planets and the energy. And the guides say yes, because we are part of one interconnected, indivisible whole, all of which is energy and information. Planets are sentient beings. That's hard to wrap our head around. They all have their unique energy, and just as your energy field in human form influences those around you, planets and their energy field influence each other and those who live upon them. So do pay attention to your planetary movements and the interaction. See how your life has been affected because of the choice your soul made to incarnate at the specific time in the spectrum of frequencies, knowing how it would affect your storyline. Yeah. Okay.
Very cool.
Here we go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing several questions that have to do with dealing with difficult people or people who are difficult in our lives. So,
and the guides scream, opportunities.
Yes, lesson learning. This, I think the way this one is phrased speaks to all of them. How can we see a spark of the divine in someone who is a source of difficulty in our lives, but who we cannot avoid interacting with?
And the guides say only by shifting beyond the story to realizing that you have called to you this opportunity for seeing the soul. You are both souls and human, but when you forget that you're a soul and see them only as human, then they push your buttons big time. That's why they're saying it's an opportunity to learn I am not only human. So doing my sip of the divine practice or any of those free meditations on the gifts page on my website will help you come to know your soul. That's what part of your big project here is to remember you're a soul. Process is the better word, they say. Your process is remembering that you came in as a soul, you are still a soul, you go out as a soul, but it gets clouded over by our stories and all these experiences. So if somebody's pushing your button, you are in human mode. In my book that you can see behind me, The Awakened Way, I talk about the human spirit dial. If somebody's constantly getting under your skin, your dial is pegged over here to the human side. So what does it feel like to be a soul? It's not just that you fake being loving and pleasant. The guys just said, now you're talking too much. Listen to us. You actually connect through the heart with your higher self and radiate that awareness that you are here to connect soul to soul and flow together. And they're very clearly showing me that when you start shifting and coming at that person from an objective viewpoint without judging, right away you will see changes in them. There are some lessons with my husband that I've learned over the years that no longer come up because I dealt with them within myself. I didn't change him, but he no longer triggers things in me because I cleared those triggers. That's why the people who push your buttons are opportunities. Every human reaction that's less than positive that comes up in you that you clear out, you allow more of your light to shine, and it's easier to connect with guidance. So it's just this ongoing process that requires work, but it actually becomes fun to say, what if I respond from the soul? How would the soul ask? And the guides say, don't just wonder, ask, how would the soul react now? How do I feel like reacting from the heart, and then act on that? It may shock the heck out of your colleague or whoever the person you're in relationship with. Like, where did that come from? But the result will be shocking in a good way.
I think I'm going to go back and listen to this recording again because that's a really good teaching.
Yeah. Well, you have 5 boys. Meredith lives in a house with her husband and 5 boys ages what?
8 to 16.
Mm-hmm. Bless you. Did you feel that wave of love coming your way? Yeah.
Thank you for keeping them quiet in the back. I'm hoping nobody interrupts us. Oh.
It's beautiful. I've seen pictures of them all, and it's a beautiful family, but I just can't imagine all that energy. Wow.
There is a lot of energy. Well, maybe that should take us to a question about energy.
Okay. Good segue.
It says, if energy is indestructible, what happens to negative energies that are experienced in our human realm?
The guides are showing me waves, that energy flows and it arises and subsides constantly like this. So energy is transmuted by going back to its base state, which is pure being. And then it will come up again. In the world of duality in which we live, you're going to have highs and lows. You're going to have what we call positive and negative. But notice on a battery, they're reminding me, you have a positive end and a negative end, and both are necessary for flow. So when we flow with less than positive energy and we know this too shall pass, now we're not resisting and we are becoming part of the flow. So what happens to negative energy? It flows. When we resist it, it gets stuck in us and it sits there and affects us and builds up and becomes more and more dense and causes ultimately illness and disease. So we definitely want to allow that to come out. I mentioned, where was it? I mentioned it recently. Something, I went public and said I had an absolute meltdown about a month ago. I remember just losing it when an announcement went out from my community about the premiere of the Wolf's Message movie here before we were ready to take registrations. And I guess I had a stressful morning because I had such a human reaction that it stunned me, stopped me in my tracks. I looked at my husband and I said, wow, that hasn't happened in a while. And he was right, because I've learned to just flow, but I didn't flow. I went like, this can't be happening. And it erupted. And so everybody, when you erupt, when you feel that come to the surface, be able to make that shift, rise above it, the story from the soul's perspective. What do we say, Meredith?
Oh, go with the flow.
Go with the flow, or isn't that interesting? Anything that
Isn't
takes.
that interesting?
Yeah.
As I'm looking at a question that says, isn't that interesting? Oh, how funny.
That's funny. Anything to get you out of the immediate drama and shift to the observer perspective. So what happens to that energy? Hopefully it flows. Long answers, but
No, that's very helpful, because we all wish we could stay in this flow state, accepting state, but we cannot. So this is very helpful.
good.
Grady's asking a question. I want to go back to it. Regarding losing his wife in July and feeling as if she's always there, how often does she want me to visit her grave?
Oh, wow. Good question. Let's ask. I'm tuning in my guides and they say tune into her right now. So they pulled me to the front here. And what I hear is, as often as it makes you feel comfortable and good, my dear. Yeah. As often as it brings you pleasure, but what she really wants, and what all our loved ones want, is for us to know they're not at the grave, right? And certainly when we visit a grave, we feel closer, but that's because we've opened up our hearts in that moment. So just know that they're always with us, and they often drop in on us when we're not necessarily thinking about them. The guides say just be aware of obsessing, which takes you out of the awareness that they are here and not in that grave. So it's a beautiful way to celebrate and feel connected with a loved one who has passed, but they don't need it, the guides say. As long as it brings you comfort, there is no harm in this until it becomes addictive. Then that's the human side, and we can just start asking our guides to show us how our loved ones are here. That's very nice.
I'm seeing also a theme of questions that people are having as they're tuning in to their own guides, and trying to develop their intuitive skills. One question: how do I know what is mine from what is not? As an empath, it all feels like mine.
Okay, such a good question. Many of us in our Awaken Way community are empaths, meaning, for those of you who are new to this, I have a new term to share with you in a second. Let me make a note of that. Meaning that we pick up other people's energy very easily. That's why I was knocked off balance and had to really clear the crowds that I was part of for the last 10 days before doing these 2 readings back to back. You know, because you tune into what is going on in your life now. You tune into where your thoughts are. Is there a reason for you to feel angry? Is there a reason here and now for you to feel sad or nervous? What are your thoughts telling you? I've learned this because when I get around people who are reactive, I suddenly say, wait, I'm not angry. And I'll say, so please use this if it helps you all, not my anger, not my sadness. And just blow it away, let it flow through you as it will, as all energy does when we don't take ownership of it. And you can also stop using the pronoun I and say, there's anger in the field. Now, you say this to yourself. I say this going inside myself. And that takes the personal part of it away. There's anger and awareness. There's awareness of anger here. There's awareness of sadness here. And then you can ask your guides, where is this coming from? And the insights are phenomenal. it's really beautiful when you can realize that we do pick up on other people's energy and not take ownership of it. So I hope those two examples really help. I could see
Oh,
you
they
taking
help.
on board, Meredith. Yeah.
Oh, well, this is a switch to a different topic, but Carolyn's asking, are NDEs mistakes? Some, an NDE being near-death experience, some near-death experiencers have said the higher beings were surprised that someone had passed, that it was not their time. Why do some have NDEs while others just pass fully on?
For you are inextricable from the web of which you are a part. And because humans are gifted with free will, some make choices that impact others. And that's why if it is not a person's time to pass, they will come back. But there are other reasons at play here as well, such as the amount of learning and healing that others derive from hearing of the experience of those who cross and come back. And we hear you now, those whose loved ones crossed, and you say, but why didn't they come back? And it is the latter case because of the growth of the love that continues on both sides of the veil as the result of a transition. Death is not the end. It may appear to be a tragedy for those left behind, but you do move forward together. So when a human being's choice results in an unexpected turn in one's life path, actions are taken to get one back on track. Okay. Wow. Before you move on, I wrote 2 notes I want to share. Going back to that last question, Meredith, about taking on other people's feelings. When I knew how much we take on other things, I was sitting working on my computer some time ago in the dining room, in our great room, and I suddenly had such a craving for sweets. And I thought, where's that coming from? Oh gosh, why do I want to just get up and get something sweet? And my husband stood up, walked to the kitchen, opened the refrigerator, and popped an Oreo in his mouth. And I went, not my craving.
This is such a good suggestion.
Oh yeah, not my craving. And then the other one is the other thing I made that I wanted to mention. We talked about people who are new to this journey. Thank you for joining us. I hope you're picking up some good tips here today and new ways of thinking of things, adjusting your BS, right? Your belief system as the heart guides you. Somebody told me on the recent cruise, and I'm using it all the time now because I love it. You know, people call us woo-woo. That means we're into things that some people think are out there. And I always say woo-woo is relative, right? Like, I feel pretty grounded compared to some others, but I'm probably pretty woo-woo compared to my military colleagues, right? But for those of you who are new to this and diving all in, guess what you are? New woo. Isn't that great?
It's a spectrum of woo.
That's right. Okay. So we could really run away with that, but let's get back to the questions.
I'm going to ask this one from Kelly Harris. Nice last name, Kelly. Will I recognize my husband when I leave my body? And will I recognize him as my husband here on earth?
The guides say it is a simultaneous recognition at the soul level. There is zero doubt that you will recognize your husband in the exact way that he wants you to see, perhaps when he proposed to you or there's a special occasion, but it will be a great delight for both, as it is with all reunions across the veil. Children who have passed will show up at an age at which you would recognize them, even though their soul continues advancing across the veil, the guides say. However, you already know and are interacting with each other at the soul level. There is instant awareness of the presence, even if your loved one were to joke around with you and put on a beard and a different costume. Yeah. We know each other like we know our guides by our light. We each have our own frequency. I like to call it our own ringtone. What's the ringtone you're taking with you across the veil? The goal is for it to be even sweeter and brighter than the ringtone we came in with. Nice.
That's a beautiful answer. Okay. This one It was a little bit out there.
Oh, no.
Are guides and angels unique to this earthly realm, or do they also help souls who have incarnated in other dimensions or other planets?
It's not that out there, Meredith. This is straight up our alley here. And they say it is a very linear alignment that the guides and the angels assigned to this earthly experience are exactly that. This is their assignment, and they are attuned energetically to each energy field in this earthly realm. There are likewise other beings who assist in a hierarchy of sorts for other realities and other beings. So, as above, so below is replicated across dimensions, realities, different realms. It can be no other way. This is evolution, the guides say. Let me take a break here for a minute. Whew, we're getting some wonderful answers from the guides. I'm grateful for the fluency of their answers today. But I want to just share with you for a few minutes. This is our middle of the show here, public service announcements. Let me pull this way. If you're enjoying this show, click that subscribe button and the bell so you're notified when we're going to do these live ones. My wonderful content creator Christy Majors is constantly putting out new videos every Thursday, and when I can't do these live on Sunday, but we always join in the chat as we can. So we love our group of regulars who show up. Thank you for that. Let's see. This picture got messed up. I don't know how, but we had so much fun premiering Wolf's Message, the documentary based on my book by the same name. Look at that great movie poster that our director Jim Spruill made. Check out wolfsmessage.com. This was a picture from the premiere. No, we didn't suddenly lose weight and become skinny. It just compressed the picture. We had such fun with the director, and we'll be in the Villages, Florida, Thursday and Friday on the big screen in the theater. We have over 500 people coming to see it live and talk to the director and Wolf's dad, Mike, and me with questions afterwards. We're going to run out of tickets. We've already sold out Friday, but if you're anywhere in Florida, get your ticket at wolfsmessage.com. Attend a screening page for that. And here we were at our house celebrating. What a joy after the premiere. This is director Jim Spruill and his wife, Gloria, my husband, Ty, and me, and Mike and Beth, Wolf's dad and stepmom. Beth, bless her soul, is dealing with leukemia after her second stem cell transfer, and she came, is that the word? Stem cell transfer? Meredith, is that the right word?
Transplant? Stem cell
transplant. My guides are saying not the right word. Her second stem cell transplant. She came and joined us and shared her wisdom, not only on screen, but in person. It was such a joy to be with her and everybody to celebrate Wolf's Message together. So these little yin yang symbols all over the map show where we're going to be. Very special time in Plymouth, Massachusetts, right there at the tree where Wolf was struck and killed by lightning. If you don't know the story, check out the book, Wolf's Message. We're going to have a gathering for free of anybody who's in the area at 5 o'clock in Plymouth on May 14th. Then the screening of the film is from 7 to 9, and that is almost sold out as well. But all these other locations you can find at wolfsmessage.com/attend a screening. And if you're not in the U.S. and can't join us, mid-May, thanks to the efforts of Meredith and the rest of my team and JS, we're going to have the video available online in a rental situation, just like when you rent a movie from Amazon Video. Please check out my homepage, SuzanneGiesemann.com. When you scroll down, you'll see featured events. If you like this live, you will love joining with me live on these upcoming events. My monthly connection webinar, that's where you can sign up for tomorrow. My featured events on the homepage. What else? That's where you find the upcoming Wolf's Messages events on my events page. I'm going to be in Colorado for a Humanities Team Big Conference coming up in May. Then I'm going to be live all weekend at an Expand conference in Atlanta in June, and a full weekend at the Omega Institute in upstate New York in July. So we always feature events, but my events calendar goes all the way out. Now, this is Meredith's baby. I'm so excited to share with all of you. If you like the daily messages from the guides who've been talking to you today, check out the new Find Answers feature. You find that link on the homepage in the middle, Find Answers, and then you can go and now search all the 6,000 messages in the Daily Way app by themes. Look down here on the bottom of the screen, you see the themes, but when you click on a theme, it opens up to suggested keywords. Click a keyword and it's going to come up with all of the best messages from Sanaya over the years that have to do with the keywords. It's an amazing technology. And I'll let Meredith say something about that in a second. This week, we launched my new book for pre-order, Making the Afterlife Connection. I'm so grateful to all of you who pre-ordered because it jumped it to #1 in 2 categories on Amazon. It'll be sent out in June, but if you order now, we have some bonus gifts and the opportunity for a free reading with me. So please go to my homepage, scroll down until you see this book, Making the Afterlife Connection, and click the link to find out about those bonus gifts. This is the gift we're offering this week, a free online course, free, just for pre-ordering the book, Connect with Spirit, 4 modules, I think. So that's a real nice goodie to give away. And here's where you find my book on the homepage, looking just like that. And we already talked about the app. So that does it for our little, you don't want to miss out on announcements. But Meredith, what you've done with being able to search my videos, you and Jayesh, and search the Daily Way messages, and soon search all of the teaching over the years is truly taking us to the future. Here and now.
Thank you. And I'm glad you called out Jayesh for that. And his work has been incredible. Just when I was prepping for today's podcast right now, I was looking at some of the questions that had come in previously, and I used the new video keyword search because if anybody doesn't know, also on the Find Answers page, there's a place where you can search videos for all the YouTube videos that have been published publicly for questions on a certain theme or a certain keyword. So I was looking at when else had somebody asked a question about reincarnation, past lives, or the afterlife. It's a great feature. I wanted to point that out as well.
Awesome.
And Suzanne, as you were talking just now, and we got stuck on the word transfer, it brought me to a question somebody asked about transplant.
Wow.
Cool
wow.
Well, it's a 2-part, and I know that we don't like the 2 parts, so let me try to put it into one.
Okay.
Do items in antique stores or thrift shops carry the energy of a previous owner? What about a transplanted organ? So energy in an item.
Yeah. Items in an antique shop. Do they ever? I'll answer this without my guides. I can barely stand being in antique shops. And it's been that way my whole life. And I never understood why. I'd walk inside and just go, oh, I have to leave. And I didn't realize I was picking up on all the energy of objects. We teach in my classes how to hold an object. It's called psychometry that belonged to someone else. And you can pick up all kinds of information about them and often call in the spirit of the person who owned it. So yeah, definitely. But then, of course, yes, now the guides say beyond any doubt, the organs carry the energy of the person before, and the stories are legendary. I know of personally a man who had a heart transplant and suddenly cravings M&Ms. And it turns out that the young woman whose heart now beats in his chest always was eating M&Ms. So there we were talking about picking up not my cravings. Perfect example. Really good. It's all about energy and exchanging energy constantly, which is why if you feel gunked up or there's some energy you don't want in your system, go to the gifts page on my website and do my 10-minute transformation meditation. I did it this morning. I do it often to get the flow going and to clear dense energy that is not something I want to hang on to.
This, I think, may be one of Sherry's questions asked earlier today. How can I change the energy in our home?
Oh, right. I just did a reading for a gentleman who didn't want to move because his partner passed in that house and this partner's family was kicking him out. And he was very upset about that. but his guides and his partner came in and said, you're clinging to the past. You will find such an upliftment and a lightness of being, because not only is the trauma of discovering his lifeless body still in that field, but the family relations that weren't so good are throughout the house. So moving will actually be a good thing for him, and his partner showed how he's moving forward with him. But I certainly understand why people can't necessarily move or don't want to. And you don't need to. The guides are saying there are multiple ways of clearing spaces. In my book, The Awakened Way, we have a whole chapter on a section on energetic hygiene. So you can use sage, like Native Americans and Eastern cultures do. You can ring bells, you can clap, you can burn candles, but the guides say what is most important is your intention, to realize that air and energy can become stagnant and take on a lower vibration than is helpful. And you will want to clear it regularly. I clear this room because I'm constantly interacting with other people's loved ones in spirit. And I have clients, not so often anymore, but who come here in person. And it's just an energy that I'm not used to. And we want to go back to a nice baseline and uplift it. So you absolutely want to clear spaces. If you work in an environment where there are a lot of sick people or hurting people, you're going to want to clear your own energy often. If you're moving into a new house, by all means, clear the house before you move in with any of the methods I talk about in my book or that we mentioned here.
So helpful. Thank you. I do see a question here that I want to get to, but I'm going to save it. It's about AI. So,
okay.
But while you're on this topic about energy clearing and intention, there is a question about word choice. What carries more weight, intention or word choice? And so the follow-up question is, if the words we pray or meditate with in our heart are not reflective of our truest deep intention, which is more important? So word choice or intention?
The guides say that they're going like this, that when your intention is aligned with your word choice, they are equal in weight. And there is a knowing at a soul level when someone's words are not their truth. So words are important, but the power behind them is more powerful. That's why you want to be, as Don Miguel Ruiz said, be impeccable with your word. And you see how my guides, maybe not so much today, but often they'll correct my word. They'll change a word and make sure I choose the right one. Like when we said positive and not so positive instead of negative, which immediately brings down the energy. So do make all good effort, the guides say, to align your words with your intention. Oh, Meredith, this is perfect with AI because we were talking about this. Give the right prompt, get the right result, right? So you want to, when you interact with artificial intelligence, you word your words just right so that you get what you want. It's the same with intention. So try to match them, the guides say.
Okay, well, perfect segue. Here we go. Let's get to those AI questions. I'm seeing a couple on the same theme, so I'll go with this wording. Will artificial intelligence serve humanity, or is there more potential that it will be used to harm humanity?
Humanity has been given the ability to harm themselves for decades upon decades in the form of your nuclear weapons and other weapons of mass destruction, and you have not done yourselves in yet, or there is a reason that these choices are not made at a level that would obliterate your opportunities for growth. Trust that you are being guided, that people who have ill intentions are held back in many cases from making choices that would cause harm on a massive scale. And so trust that AI will be used to help humanity. And of course, there will be times when it is used for nefarious means, But with our help and that of the angels and you making positive choices without going to fear, you will find that it is quite a benefit to human evolution, allowing all of you to access information, to make choices, to live your lives with greater ease through the use of this advanced technology, which is a result of both the evolution of human consciousness and assistance from the higher realms. It is all connected. Wow.
That one gave me the truth shivers, as Velvet would say, right?
Truth shivers. Velvet's in Wolf's Message, a wonderful woman we interact with in the movie, and she calls God bumps, goosebumps, truth shivers. Yeah.
I love that. Now you reminded me that also I had used that video search capability to look at any answers from previous podcast interviews about artificial intelligence. And I have to say it's a similar answer. You know, the guides are saying what they said to you. And I think it was 2023 was the last question I could find that was asked. And it's just so good to hear that and very reassuring. So
really cool. Let me tell you all again, go to my homepage, SuzanneGiesemann.com, scroll down till you see Find Answers, click there, and you'll find the 4 new ways we have to access information. And this video search is stunningly wonderful. You enter a keyword, it brings up every video where that I have used that word in 400 or more videos on my YouTube channel, and it takes you to the exact spot in the video, pulls the video up right there in front of you on the page and lets you listen and gives you a transcript of it. Amazing.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. I'm going to try to shift gears. Let's see.
Y'all having fun? I love seeing your comments. I can't really pay attention because I'm trying to hold the link with my guides, but
yeah.
Great
energy. Scan the comments and make sure we get questions from everybody. Here's one from Hannah. When I cross, will I recognize ancestors which I have not met during this lifetime?
I was going to answer immediately, but I'm checking here. Yes, again, it goes back to recognizing them by their light. You already know each other. You've made this decision you're part of us to go round and round. You're part of a soul family. And so there's instant recognition. Yeah. How promising is that?
Let's see. Okay.
We'll keep going for about 5 more minutes, everybody. I hope you're enjoying this as much as we are.
I've got some questions on the theme of mediumship. So questions that people who have taken your classes maybe.
And I have a book called Mediumship. In fact, here it is. So I hope you know this one. 30 stories in the middle, part 2, from other people, normal people who have had after-death communications, and then the hows and whys that I added in parts 1 and part 3. I love that book. Like I said, it's part of a series of books that is just one path to discovering we're all connected. We're all expressions of love in full expression, life itself. Oh. So last night I watched a video on YouTube called Life Itself, about the life of Roger Ebert. Remember the film critic?
Yes.
Because I have an opportunity to meet his wife, Chaz, very soon, like 2 weeks from now, when I'm at the film festival in Santa Barbara, the Illuminate Film Festival. So it's just so much fun. Thanks to Wolf across the Veil and director Jim Spruill and everybody involved, Mike and Beth, for allowing me to share Wolf's amazing story. We're taking it to one of the world's premier film festivals for consciousness raising. And I have some big news coming up about that, but I don't want to announce it yet till the contract is signed. So I hope you all fill out the form on wolfsmessage.com to be notified when it's available for viewing, because we've shown it twice now, the premiere and once on the cruise, to several hundred people already. And folks, the responses are not lukewarm. They're words like magnificent and life-changing. I'm just so grateful to be able to get Wolf's message out to the world.
Well, we should try to, maybe Christy or somebody who's online can drop the link to wolfsmessage.com in our chat for anybody who wants to click on that.
I see Stephanie in there. I'm sure she'll do it too.
Thank you, Steph. So I want to go back to when we used there was a question about words versus intentions, and less than positive came up, because I do have a question here about the Hippocratic Oath of Mediumship, to do no harm. If spirit shows you something that is less than positive, should that remain known only to the medium? Or why would a spirit show you something that's less than positive?
Notice the way that question was worded. If spirit shows you. When a medium tunes into the energy field, the very being of a spirit across the veil or a person here, everything in their entire story is present. So we can pick up on anything that's ever happened to them as imagery. And we might say, they're showing me, when simply it's arising as part of the field. That happens, but also sometimes they project imagery that they want us to see. So what comes to mind is the example of seeing a young man who passed in a car accident and all of the details, which we don't need to share with loved ones here. If it was painful or gruesome, there is no sense in sharing that. You're picking up on it because that's what happened. So we just share. Why would they share it? To show as evidence, yes, I passed in this way, but it would do harm to share all of that. I remember I did a recent reading. Let me ask my guides. I said something to the client that I didn't realize would be hurtful to them. And it's not coming up now, so just as well. But we just never know how people are going to perceive things. So as long as we hold the intention to do no harm, hopefully we fulfill that. Because the mediumship is all about healing and comfort and being the voice for those who no longer have a voice. Before we move on, I just want to add a couple of things about word choice, how important it is, because words carry energy, affect energy, and are received that way. I teach this in so many of my workshops that I recommend you no longer use the words, I don't like that person, and certainly not I hate that person. I can Oh, look at, I almost said I can't stand. That was my second example. When we say I can't stand something, well, you are standing it. You're right here doing it. So just no longer say that. It's uncomfortable to me. I would prefer this not be happening, or alternate word choices. But to say I don't like someone is to create a separation, when ultimately what we want is to see each other as souls that are flowing together. So what's going on when you think you don't like them is you're not resonating with their energy. That's just an energetic fact that we don't all vibrate the same way. And sometimes there's some friction there. So certain people, you meet them at a party, you turn the other way. Some people you just click with, you're drawn to. That's an energy thing. But both are souls. Both are worthy, both are lovable. At some level, we all are worthy and have worth. I just said the same thing, so I must be getting tired. But the point is, if you can stop yourself from saying, I don't like them, and just say, I don't resonate with that. That's just an energetic fact that holds no judgment. And now you can see them from the soul dialed up. It'll change your life. Why don't we do a couple more, Meredith?
Okay, wonderful. And I was going to say, for those who have submitted a question that I didn't read out loud right now, I'm hoping that some of these new resources can help them find their answers, because a lot of people have similar questions. We can group them into themes. We even have a whole page that is frequently asked questions. So for those who are feeling like I didn't get to your questions today, please check out that Find Answers page.
And I do want to acknowledge our benefactor, David Miner, a businessman who is so affected by Sanaya's messages over the years that he has funded our ability to give this to all of you free, these search capabilities that make all of this material over 15 years accessible and available instantly. Thank you, David. All right. How about one more?
Okay, so there are some questions coming up. When we're talking about those who do not have a voice any longer, there are those who are living who do not have a voice. So there's questions about people with autism, those who are nonverbal. One question here is there's been a tremendous number of children born with neurological disorders such as autism in the last decade. Is there a higher meaning behind this occurrence?
Yes, and you're seeing it in these telepathy tapes podcasts. That just like Wolf, one of the big messages in Wolf's message is that he was not considered normal on the spectrum, yet there was nothing wrong with his heart. He was in two worlds at once and hearing from the other side to the point where it knocked him off balance. Those with autism are operating at a different frequency, but they are communicating in ways that are far beyond what our current physical capabilities are. They are showing us what's possible for us, even when we operate on what we consider the normal spectrum here in physical bodies. They are validating through their telepathic conversations what mediumship has been showing us for over a century, that we are not only these bodies. You are so much more than the physical, is what the guides say now. You have, all of you, the capacity to tune in energetically to each other, to come to know that you are interconnected as one source of love. That's what love is, it's the connection. And so mediumship gets us there. The disability of autism is getting us to know that. So while we see it as a handicap, it's actually such an opportunity for all of us to understand there are various ways of expressing life and to question what is normal and to love those who are not perfect in our eyes. Remember, everybody, as we wrap this up, at the soul level, you are already whole and complete. So we just deal with what is here with love and compassion, learn to rise above the story by shifting, see each other with compassion and love, and now you're living on purpose. I did a lot of rambling, Meredith.
No, it was all interconnected, and I don't know how much time we have, but what you answered brought up what I thought might be a great final question, perhaps, but it goes back to Wolf.
Okay.
I understand that when we incarnate, we bring with us just a portion of our soul's energy. Who decides how much energy we bring? Does the amount affect our ability to connect with the other side? Could that be the reason Wolf was in both worlds? The amount of energy he brought.
Oh, absolutely. We have our personal soul, our personal energy field, which is part of an oversoul, the greater soul. And the energy of the greater soul could not possibly come into one incarnation. We would implode or explode. Either one is not a pretty picture. But through our efforts, our intention, our heart's longing and following that, to sit in peace, do my sip of the divine, do other meditative practices, practicing presence, clearing out the gunk, allowing the life force to flow, we are able to embody more and more of that higher energy. That's the journey we're on. I just helped a whole shipload of people raise their energy on the cruise that I just led. And everybody was buzzing. And I know they went home and are feeling the difference because they've gone to a new level. But the cool thing is, you know, as any teacher knows, when you teach something, you go higher too. And somebody in the group on the cruise said, Suzanne, as you go higher, you take us higher. So we're all just dancing, going higher and higher. That's why our souls came here. And so there is a limit to how much the physical body can hold energetically. But when we don't know what it is, we just keep growing. And it's such a joy because as we become more of our soul self, by making choices that are in alignment with the soul, by noticing when the human side is pegged over here and shifting, we can handle more and we connect more clearly. I hope I've modeled with you all how you can connect with guides as well. Back when I wore a Navy uniform, I didn't know any of this was possible. I was so left brain But by changing my BS, my belief system, look at this result, this beautiful community of loving spirits, this beautiful team of assistants I have. Several of them in the chat, and Meredith, you with me here today. It's all about the love, everybody. So thanks for being on this journey with us. Final words,
Thank
Meredith?
you. Yes, this has been so fun. I love being able to interact with the community and tell your stories and your questions. And thank you for letting me have this opportunity today.
Well, you did a great job of fielding them. And what I see with you is just what you bring to the team, this beautiful right-sided, right hemisphere flow, but yet an orderliness, and you see the connections, and you brought those questions in a beautiful flowing way that everybody benefited from. And I just love the way everybody was interacting in the chat. So hopefully we started off your week in a great way. Hope to see many of you tomorrow night in the monthly connection and at a screening of Wolf's events somewhere around the country. Love to all of you. Have a great rest of the day.